So
Let's dive in.
yeah, my campaign at heart stands for trying to create legislation that will help honor every person in the district and the Commonwealth.
Mhm.
That so sort of a funny, sad story is I have doing a lot of Facebook ads and digital outreach because of the nature of coronavirus. And one of them is there's just these 6 little statements that come out at different times, and one of them says we deserve an economy that rewards the hard work of all Pennsylvanians.
Yeah.
And yesterday, someone put an angry face on that statement.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm running, because I think that we unfortunately do have too much representation that doesn't believe that we should honor the hard work of all Pennsylvanians.
Yeah.
And that's why we need these reps. And I think it's fantastic that so many different people are standing up to run in rural areas, that we have seeded the ground in rural America to say, well, that's Trump land or that's whatever. And it's not. It may be, registration differential is 60-40 in a place where I am, but that doesn't even hold true at the state level. You talk to a lot of Republicans and they believe in exactly the same thing that a lot of these Democratic candidates do, because they believe in the integrity of each individual and their right to be rewarded for hard work. So my campaign is about that.
Here, if you don't mind, I really need you to focus on this area before we move on to your
Yeah.
and this is for everyone that listening to us right now. The race this year, the election this year, to me, I don't think it's a Republican against Democrat. It's just decent human being against something that is created. And I'm not even going to call him a person. I am not going to give this. But what would be your message to like your area before we go back to answering the campaign and what your campaign stands for? Those 60% Republicans, what would be your message to them? Because we get a lot of questions. I'm Republican and I don't agree with everything that Donald Trump is doing. What should I do? I mean, we get that question a lot, but is the question I really want people to get to hear the answer from you. What is this election like? Why so many Republicans are just standing by and not doing anything? This is against their party's values, and he's not doing anything that Republican.
Yeah, I mean, I think that of the many great insults that America is experiencing with this presidency, among the greatest insults are to the Republican Party itself.
Yeah.
That the kind of cruelty and game changing, finding loopholes to try to win without following democratic processes is antithetical to what the Republican Party stands for. What I try to tell, and I have to be careful, right? You don't want to be lecturing people, but
Yeah.
one of the things that I think about is some of the core icons of the Republican Party are people like Dwight Eisenhower, who built the interstate system on tax dollars,
Yeah.
or Teddy Roosevelt, the original progressive, who fought for a fair shake for the little person versus the large corporation. So my message, and this is where I get back to story,
Yeah.
that we need to look at what's actually happening instead of the narrative that's been built to tell us that this party's good for you and this party's bad for you. And when you start peeling back those layers and you start seeing, and we can sometimes stay just in economics, you start seeing that the economics aren't what is being sold.
Mhm.
And that's the big issue, is that you're being told that you need to vote one way because that's the party that represents rural America. But then you realize entire tax structures, funding structures, all of that is set up so that you suffer. And that's where Appalachia comes in. The region has always been set up to suffer. And so for us, instead of continuing to vote for the people that will keep us suffering, we need to look at the other suffering individuals and start making allyships. And look at, one of the things I try to tell them as well is, we have more in common with urban voters in Philadelphia, in Pittsburgh, and particularly other marginalized groups in Pennsylvania, that we should be standing together in unity against the authoritarians that are trying to keep us all poor.
Yeah.
But somehow in the rural parts, the identity politics have gotten people to vote in another way, and they don't see an allyship with those individuals.